Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/PettyRevenge. In today's episode, bullies threw pennies at me. I made bank. My father the king of petty. I turned in 2 copies of a test to thwart a cheater. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Bullies threw pennies at me. I made bank. This happened way back in a forgotten era known as the year 2000. I was a freshman in high school and just doing my own thing. Back then I was so broke that I'd hunt for any coins I could find. I even checked the change returns on these long forgotten things we called payphones. I was also always looking under and behind vending machines. I was an oddball kid. You know, the kind that always wore a heavy coat or sweatshirt, even when it wasn't cold outside. I'm on the spectrum, and at the time was prescribed Ritalin for it. Which made me really quiet, aloof and completely zoned out at times, and a complete chatterbox the next. So I got picked on a lot. I also had a bit of a wanderlust, and was always wandering around campus before school started. One day I spotted a nickel on the other side of a small wire fenced-in area that was covering a power junction line or something. I had to find a stick to slide the nickel toward me, but I got it. Trouble is, some other kids noticed this and started observing me. They found my coin hunts hilarious and mocked me. I ignored them. Then a few days later, that same group of guys started chucking pennies at me. I didn't say a word. I just picked up and pocketed every single one of them while they kept laughing at me and throwing more. They did this again the following day. This went on about 3 days total. I picked up every single penny they threw at me. And there was hundreds of them. Only really added up to a little less than $5. But that still got me more cash for my savings. I kept a big jar I was always throwing coins in when I got any spare change I could find. The following week I was approached by one of the guys that threw all of those pennies at me. And he actually asked for them all back. I told him no. But then he started whining that he'd taken those pennies from his mom's penny jar and she'd noticed. Then he begged me to just give them back. I told him that for one thing, I didn't have them on me. And secondly, that it was his problem, because maybe he shouldn't have thrown them at me to begin with if he expected them back. Then I just walked away. That guy never bothered me again, but one of his friends did once. He told me the guy got in trouble because I refused to give the pennies back. Again, I didn't care and walked away. But those pennies helped me in buying my next N64 game from the used video game store. So thanks for the free pennies. Hope it was worth ticking your mom off when you stole from her, jerk. The logic of some teenage bullies is insanely strange. I'm hoping that such a group wouldn't be all bad. It could have started with one bully person that either has rich parents or just not thinking about the value of money. Then mostly others who weren't in the poor category that wanted to be cool and went along with it, because that's how high school influence can be sometimes. It's always nice when a bully hurts himself through his own actions. Congratulations for standing up for yourself and not giving them back. I know I picked on you and laughed at you and bullied you, but my mommy is really gonna be mad if she notices her pennies are gone. You reap what you sow. My father the king of petty. This is a tad long, but here we go. So when I was 16 or 17ish, I shared a car with my papa. He worked in maintenance, dealing with boilers and fixing things at a local high school, and I was going to college. Long story there, but also not the point. My papa is an immigrant from Calabria, Italy, and it's pretty much the stereotype you'd imagine: loud, doesn't take crap from anyone, and an accent that has made small kids cry. He's also petty. My father had to have things on an exact schedule. I woke up at 5 a.m. every day to get him to work by exactly 5:25 every morning, and then went off to school myself. One day my papa storms into my room, flicks on the lights, and goes, "Pina, get up, we're going to work early today." I look at my clock, y'all, it is 3 a.m. in the morning. I get up like a zombie, but look, I ain't asking questions. We get in the car, I always drive. I'm half awake when we get to the front and he tells me to stop. Now this school had a beautiful circle round drive leading into the atrium of the school. Another thing about this school is that every student had to walk through these doors and go through metal detectors. My father proceeds to then roll down the window and pull out a bag of bread and start throwing it on the ground. I'm extra confused. Why are we up at 3 a.m. to throw bread on the ground? So I ask Papa, what are you even doing? My father looks at me and grins with this shit-eating face and goes, feeding the birds. Pina, we're feeding the birds. Now I'm curious, but I also don't want to know what the hell my dad is doing at the same time because he's a tad crazy and I learned to mind my own business. This goes on for 2 months until one day. I pull up tired as crap, and before I can even comprehend what's happening, a man in a ski mask sprints out of the school, unlocks my papa's door through the window and drags him out. Next thing I know, man starts screaming, Giacomo, is that you? WTF, man, it's been you feeding the pigeons. Why would you do this? YLL, the man was the janitor. My father weaponized Canadian geese. My father in the calmest voice ever goes, janitor, do you remember 2 months ago when you stole my last Coca-Cola and when I asked you to go to the gas station you said no? Janitor is like, yeah. And my papa continues, and then you said, what are you gonna do about it? This is what I did. Have fun waking up at 2 a.m. every morning to retrain the geese to shit by the pond. He gets back in the car and says, now drop me off. My papa starts explaining that the students were tracking the geese poop all through the school, and as the janitor he had to clean it all up every single day. And he was slowly going crazy wondering why the geese were even there to begin with, so he finally figured someone was doing this and decided to stake out the school to find out who was driving him crazy. I learned 2 things that day. 1, my father is the prettiest man I know, and 2, don't mess with my papa's Coca-Cola. Your typo at the end there makes this post. I'm glad you think your father is so pretty, lol. This is my first post and how to edit it, so honestly Emma, just leave that there, LMAO. Your father told the janitor to flock off. This is the best petty revenge I've ever read, and by the prettiest man, too. Pretty papa for the win. I turned in 2 copies of a test to thwart a cheater. I just read a story on here that reminded of something that I did in elementary school. The kid that sat next to me would constantly copy my work/tests. I hate to belittle him, but he was a lazy and dumb POS. I got fed up with it and grabbed 2 copies of the test when it was handed around the classroom. On the first test, I wrote down all wrong answers while the kid next to me was copying me. I then went and turned my test into the tray, with no name, and went to the bathroom. In the bathroom, I wrote down all the correct answers on the other copy of the test and put my name on it. I turned it into the tray when I came back into the room. The next day was hilarious because I got a 100% and the dipshit next to me scored a 0%. He was so confused. Oh well. They let you take a copy out of the room and take that paper in after being out of the testing room? That's pretty relaxed. I was slick about it, lol. I look back at it today and I'm like, that was cunning and savage, lol. Teachers don't have time and energy to police all students. The ones who are thought to be the good ones can get away with a lot of stuff. I was the lazy POS. In college, we were encouraged to work in groups. I just did not get transport phenomena in chemical engineering. We had a really smart dude, Hanky, who was a wizard at that stuff. It started out where we would check our homework with Hanky, and eventually it became just outright copying his homework. We got caught once Hanky made a simple mistake. The next class, the TA basically told us that he knew we were all copying from Hanky since we all got the exact same question wrong in the same way. From then on, all of us got a score of H5 on our homework, Hanky -5. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.